everybody, it's Gean from BonnieJean.com. Welcome back to today's video. Today I want to show you how to create a button inside of the Gimp program. This is a button that you could use on your website. Someone else asked for this tutorial, so I'm going to oblige and create it. So obviously the first thing that you need to do is have a copy of Gimp, and once you have it installed on your system, go over to File, click New, and set your canvas size. I'm setting mine at 350 by 60, and I'm going to say OK. Now that'll give me a canvas. I'm going to hit my zoom tool. I'm going to zoom in on this so I can see it. And I want to zoom in just enough so that I can see the 10 pixels up at the top. I'm going to drag a guide over there to 10. And I'm going to do the same thing at the top and the bottom as well. Here's the 10. Okay. And do it again at the bottom. So this would be at the 50 mark. And then on the right hand side, since this is 350 pixels wide, we want to put our other one at 340. So drag a guide over there. Now, the next thing we need to do is create the shape for our button. So I'm going to hit New Layer and say OK. Then I'm going to come over here and change my color to my button color and say OK again. I'll zoom out so you can see what I'm doing here. So what I want to do next is I want to drag the size of a rectangle, and I want rounded corners. So make sure if you want rounded corners, you have this hit it rounded, and then set the radius for your corner. It could be anywhere from 20 to 30. It's totally up to you. And then put your crosshair right there on those guides where they cross over. And then once you have it in the center and you're happy with it, click your mouse and hold it down, hold the mouse button down and drag it. And then take the bucket tool and fill in the button. Now I want to put some highlight behind here, a shading of or sort. So I'm going to go back over here to the layers palette and click New Layer. Say OK again. And I'm going to fill the background with a black. So I'm going to change to black. And I also want to make it so that you can see it. So I'm going to go up to Select, hit Grow, and tell it to grow by 1 pixel and say OK. You'll see the outline of this button has grown by a pixel. Make sure that you're on that border number 1 layer. Then hit that paint bucket and drop that paint in there. So now we covered up our red button. So let's take this border and slide it down underneath. All right, so it's not going to let me do that. So I will use the button here and take it down there. So now we got this black border. And I'm going to say Select and None. And it's a little too dark for me, so I'm going to change this opacity. And I make it about 40-some%. You can make it even lighter. Okay, so once we've done that, then I want to create a new layer. Actually, let me name this layer. Double click it and I'll put button. And double click this one and call it background or shadow. Okay, once I'm over top of that shadow, I'm going to go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And I'm going to blur it by 4 and say OK. See, now we got that nice blur going on, okay? So the next thing we want to do is create a new layer. Say OK. Then I'm going to go over top of the button layer. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say Alpha Selection so it selects it. Then I'm going to go back up here to Select and I'm going to hit Shrink by 1 pixel and say OK. So see, now it's on the inside of my button. Then I'm going to go back up to this layer. I'm going to name this layer Highlight. And I want to put a white layer here, starting here, and then go about halfway down the button and make it go into transparency. So let's pick white. And then I'm going to pick this gradient tool and make sure that you click this and you want to go foreground to transparency. And that white is your foreground color. And that we have a linear shape. and then go in, make sure that you have the highlight layer selected, and then take your mouse and take it about halfway down that button or thereabouts, okay? And then release it. I don't like it, so I'm going to hit Control Z and I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to go a little bit further. There we go. Then I'm going to take this highlight and I'm going to change it to about 40% because it's really unnecessary to have it at 100. You just want it so that it's, you know, it adds like a touch of a glow up here at the top, okay? So 56% is good. Could even take it down a little bit more. Really, it's whatever you choose that you want it to be. I'm going to keep it at 49%. I'm going to hit select and say none. So there's the highlight on our button. So the next thing that we are ready for is to add the text. So let's create another layer, say OK, go to the text tool, and I want to center my text. And then I'm going to drag my mouse again inside this button. And I'm going to type out the words, click here for instant access, and put an exclamation point. And it won't fit in my box. I'm going to highlight this text. And I'm going to change the font. That's good. Impact. Condense is good. We can either change this. And I forgot to highlight the access part. So we'll have to change that too. Okay, now let's make this button two-tone. In fact, I don't want click here for instant access to be all white. I want maybe the instant access part to be yellow. So let's duplicate this layer. So highlight the text layer, right-click your mouse, say duplicate layer. And once we have the duplicate layer, we can highlight it, go over here to the color, pick a yellow, say OK. So now that makes this layer yellow. So take that layer, slide it underneath the white layer, or move it down, and then go over top of this white layer, which is at the top here now, highlight instant access, and then I have to put spaces in here, there, and match it back up again. So once I have those two matched up, I'm going to hit both text layers, the top text layer, right click and tell it to merge down. So if I turn off the text layer, you'll see that it all disappears. So let's put a shadow on here. Go up to filter, light and shadow, drop shadow. Set offsets to 1, blur radius 4, and opacity to 50 and say OK. This will put just enough tint behind it to make it pop off. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You don't need the background, so you can put it on any color background that you want. But if I remove the white, you can see that you have it, you have that pop. It pops off the page. Okay, the only thing that might be missing is a mouse cursor. You can put one here. Personally, I don't like using them. I figure, the words click here for instant access is pretty much all you need. So at this point, you're done. You just have to go up to File and export this as a PNG file or whatever type of file you want. I would say PNG because they're the nicest looking ones. I would name this click here .png and then find some place on your system that you want to save it. I'll save it to my desktop and say export and export again. And you want to save this file, so you can go in here and change the red to whatever color you want. Then you can go here and hit save as and save it as a Gimp file. And again, I'll save that to my desktop. So that way, if you want to change the color of the button, or if you want to change the words or whatever, but you still want the button to be the same size as the one you just created, you're all set and ready to go. So that's it for today's tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Until we talk again, you take care, be safe, have fun, and I'll talk to you soon.